European Union was formed in order to screw the United States. The European Union was formed for one reason. You know what that was? To rip off the United States. Because of my landslide election victory, the United States avoided the catastrophic energy collapse which befell every European nation that pursued the Green New Scam, perhaps the greatest hoax in history. The Green New Scam, windmills all over the place, destroy your land, destroy your land. Every time that goes around, you lose $1,000. You're supposed to make money with energy, not lose money. Here in Europe, we've seen the fate that the radical left tried to impose on America. They tried very hard. Germany now generates 22% less electricity than it did in 2017. And it's not the current chancellor's fault. He's solving the problem. He's going to do a great job. But what they did before he got there, I guess that's why he got there. And electricity prices are 64% higher. The United Kingdom produces just 1/3 of the total energy from all sources that it did in 1999. Think of that, 1/3. And they're sitting on top of the North Sea, one of the greatest reserves anywhere in the world, but they don't use it. And that's one reason why their energy has reached catastrophically low levels with equally high prices. High prices, very low levels. Think of that, 1/3. And you're sitting on top of the North Sea. And they like to say, well, you know, that's depleted. It's not depleted. It's got 500 years. They haven't even found the oil. The North Sea is incredible. They don't let anybody drill. Environmentally, they don't let them drill. They make it impossible for the oil companies to go. They take 92% of the revenues. So the oil companies say, we can't do it. They came to see me. Is there anything you can do? I want Europe to do great. I want UK to do great. They're sitting on one of the greatest energy sources in the world, and they don't use it. In fact, their electricity prices have soared 139%. There are windmills all over Europe. There are windmills all over the place, and they are losers. One thing I've noticed is that the more windmills a country has, the more money that country loses and the worse that country is doing. China makes almost all of the windmills.
Something no one thought could happen just happened. Donald Trump has officially said no to European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen in the meanest fight between countries the Western world has seen in many years. This is not just a fight about politics. This is not just a fight about buying and selling. This is the complete and total end of the friendship between Washington and Brussels. And what happens in the next 30 days will decide if the European Union stays alive or falls apart into money troubles. Inside the Oval Office, Trump gave a final warning so bad, so carefully planned to break European teamwork, that von der Leyen left the meeting feeling shocked. The paper Trump put on the table has requests that no European leader ever thought they would get from an American president. The $2 trillion bill for many years of what Trump calls European cheating. Taxes so big they would wipe out European businesses right away. A 30-day time limit that is already counting down with no way to follow it and no way to get out. European stock markets are falling fast. The euro is dropping quickly. Emergency meetings are happening in every big European city right now because leaders know that this is not a talk to make a deal. This is a punishment. And the countdown has already started. Stay with us, because what we are about to show will change everything you thought you knew about the future of the Western team. And the big news groups will not tell you any of this. For 75 years, the friendship between the United States and Europe was treated as holy and not to be touched. It was the base on which the whole Western world was built. American army power keeping European borders safe. American money going into European money systems. American leaders shaping European rules and protecting European needs on the world stage. This was not a friendship between equals. This was a promise written in blood and riches. Europe could build its help for all systems, its health care for everyone, its easy middle-class life because America was paying the bill for their safety. European countries could afford to spend 1% of their money on defense, instead of the 5% or 6% that would really be needed to keep themselves safe. Because American soldiers were standing on the front lines, American big ships were watching the seas, American nuclear bombs were stopping Russian attacks. This setup worked for many years because American presidents believed it was good for America's plans to keep the system. They believed that a strong, steady, rich Europe was worth the cost. They believed that the team across the ocean was more important than the money losses America was making to keep it going. But Donald Trump has never believed any of that. From his first run for office in 2016, Trump made it clear that he saw the European friendship as basically unfair to American needs. He called NATO old and not useful. He asked that European countries pay their fair share. He warned he would take American soldiers out of Germany. He put taxes on European steel and aluminum. He left the Paris climate deal that European leaders had spent years making. But those were warning signs. Those were hints of what was coming. What happened 72 hours ago inside the White House was not a warning. It was a call to fight. Ursula von der Leyen came to Washington with a carefully made plan. She brought a group of the European Union's most skilled country talkers. She brought full ideas that she believed would make Trump happy, with fair buying and selling rules, and more European defense spending. She came with the sureness of someone who has handled European politics for many years and believed she could talk her way through this trouble. She was wrong. According to many people inside the Trump changeover group, the moment von der Leyen entered the Oval Office, she knew something was very wrong. The air was cold. Trump did not hold out his hand for a shake. He did not do the nice country talks that usually start such high-level meetings. He did not ask about her flight or ask about the news in Brussels. Instead, he started speaking right away, and what he said has sent big surprises through every European city. Trump started with a list of complaints so full, so exact, so harmful, that those in the room said the feeling was like not being able to breathe. He listed years of what he called European cheating and using American kindness. He talked about the huge buying and selling losses that have cost American workers their jobs and ruined American factory towns. He talked about European countries refusing to meet even the small 2% NATO defense spending promise, while American soldiers keep dying to keep European borders safe. He talked about European rules made on purpose to hurt American tech companies like Google, Facebook, Apple, Uber, and Amazon, while keeping weaker European rivals from fair fights. He talked about European climate rules that have hurt American businesses while letting China keep growing its factories without checks and rules. He talked about European fights against buying American natural gas and instead building pipes to Russia, giving Putin's war tools billions of euros every single year. With each point Trump made, the feeling in the room got colder. Von der Leyen tried to answer, to explain the European view, to give background and small details to these hard issues. But Trump would not let her speak. He held up his hand and told her straight that the time of American patience with European excuses had ended. That time, he said, was over for good.
Mr. President, thank you.
And could not be
Thanks to the
changed.
Cabinet. So,
You know what happened next is what started the total fear that is now spreading through European government groups like a sickness.
And
Trump
it
showed a
occurred to me
paper that
from
von
the
der
time
Leyen
that I was
had never
born
seen before.
to the time that Donald J. Trump
This was not a paper made by the European Commission.
Months ago.
This was not something made by Brussels office workers or NATO leaders. This paper came straight from the Trump changeover group, and it had been made in total secret over the past
behind it
several
to make the
months.
things that we need.
The file was
We went
called
from
the
the
European
proudest
Accountability
military in the
Report,
world to one
and
in
it had
which
the
we
most
failed to meet
complete
our
check
recruiting
ever
goals.
done of the
And we went from
American-European
one in
friendship
which
since World War
bipartisan
II
border
ended.
policy was the consensus
The numbers
of
inside
both
this paper
Democrats
are
and
huge and
Republicans
scary for
to one in which
European
we allowed
leaders,
20 million
according to
people
leaked parts
to run
that have now been
roughshod
shared with many
illegally
European
over
governments.
the countryside,
The Trump group has
causing
figured that the
crime,
United
causing
States has
distress in
taken
the
a
welfare
total
system.
buying and selling
And again,
loss
that
with the
happened
European
over the
Union,
lifetime
adding up
of
to
the
over
youngest member of the
$850
cabinet.
billion
And what has happened
since
in
the year
100 days
2000.
is that we've started to reverse
But that number is
every
only the
single
start
one
of
those
Trump's
negative
bill.
trends.
The
And I think
paper
what it
also
shows to
includes
me
what Trump's group
is that
calls the safety
you
spending
sit in the Oval
load,
Office and you
which
see these
figures the
portraits of
total
presidents
cost of
past.
American army
And let's be
spending
honest,
promised to the
most of
defense
them
of
have
Europe
been placeholders.
since the
They've been
Cold
people
War
who've
ended
allowed,
in 1991.
their staff to sign
This
executive
number,
orders with an
according to the
auto pen
paper, adds up
instead
to
of
an
men
extra
of
$1.2
action.
trillion
And the reason
in American
the media
taxpayer money
attacks this
spent keeping
administration as
European
chaotic
land,
is
European
because
buying
the
and selling
president is
pacts,
solving the problems
European
the American
energy
people
supplies,
set about
and
to
European
solve.
political
He's
needs
actually
safe.
doing the things
When
that
you
he
add
promised
those
that
two
he would
numbers
do.
together,
Mr. President, it's
you
been
get
an
to
honor
the
to be
number
part
that
of it for
Trump
the
showed
past
to
100
von der
days.
Leyen.
And let me
About
just make one other
$2.05
observation
trillion.
because it's
Now,
interesting.
that is the
I've
total
seen the
amount
data,
of what the Trump
I've
leaders believe
monitored it,
America
I've
has
looked at
given
it,
to Europe,
but the most
without getting
underreported
enough
fact
payback,
of the first 100
without getting
days
equal
is that we
promises,
came in
and
with a
without getting the
massive
respect and
recruitment
thanks
shortfall.
that such
And in
kindness
100
deserves.
Days, Secretary Hegg said that
And Trump's message to von der Leyen was totally clear and very mean.
military.
That bill
to the media
is now
assembled
due.
here,
The
it's
American
a really
money
interesting
box
question.
is not just
Why has that
closing.
happened? Completely
It
aside
is
from the
being
fact that I
sealed
think it's
shut,
a good thing, or I
buried
think that President Trump
underground,
deserves political
and
credit
broken
for it.
forever.
Why did we go from a
Von der
military
Leyen
where people didn't
reportedly
want to
asked
serve
Trump
to
what
now
this
all of a
meant
sudden
in
they
real
do want to
ways.
serve? That's
What
a
he
story
answered
you
with
guys
has
should
scared
cover,
European
but
leaders
compared
more
to
than
that,
any
how
army
much
danger
time
they have
have
faced
you
since the
instead
Soviet
focused on the
Union
fact
fell apart.
that we
Trump
deported
told her that
an
starting right
MS-13
now,
gang member
all high-level
with a
country
valid
talks between
deportation order.
Washington
And
and
why
Brussels
is it that the press
is being
is
stopped
so
for an
focused
unknown
on
time.
the fake BS
No
rather
meetings
than what's
between
really
American
going
and
on in the
European
country?
leaders.
I think that
Are no
what we've
phone
shown,
calls between
sir,
the
is
White
that you can
House
do a
and the
lot.
European
You can
Commission.
do a lot in 100 days.
No
You've
talks
also
on buying and
unfortunately
selling,
revealed that too
safety,
much of the
climate,
American media
or any other
hasn't
thing they
learned the
both
lessons
care
of the
about.
past 40 years.
Just
Thank you, sir.
complete and total quiet. This stop would stay until the European Union agreed to meet a full list of requests that Trump then showed in clear detail. These requests are not ideas. They are not starting points for talks. They are final warnings backed by the full money and army power of the United States. The first request is just about money and totally bad. The Trump leaders are asking that the European Union right away pay $320 billion in what they're calling back pay for defense costs. This is basically asking that Europe write a check to pay America back for 7 decades of army safety. When von der Leyen asked how Europe could possibly make such a huge amount of money, Trump's answer was simple and cold. That is Europe's problem to solve, not America's problem to worry about. He suggested that the European Union could raise taxes on its people. It could cut help for all spending. It could sell government things. It could borrow from world money markets at whatever cost those markets asked. But no matter how Europe chose to get the money, the bill needed to be paid in full. The second request is about energy rules, and it would need a complete change of everything Europe has built over the past 2 decades. Trump is asking that the European Union right away cease all support for clean energy plans, including sun, wind, and hydrogen programs. Instead, Europe must agree to buy natural gas only from American sellers at prices set by American companies. And this would need the breaking of European climate promises under the Paris Agreement. It would need the stopping of billions of euros in green energy help. It would need the changing of European energy buildings away from clean sources and toward needing American old fuel sales. For European leaders who have built their jobs on climate work and green energy changes, this request means a complete shame, and the end of their main rule wins. The third request is maybe the most dangerous to European teamwork and the most carefully planned to break the European Union from inside. Trump has asked that the European Union right away take apart its digital services tax and all other tax rules that treat American tech companies badly. But the request goes much further than simple tax rules. Trump is asking that single European countries be allowed to make two-country buying and selling deals straight with the United States instead of being forced to talk through Brussels as a group. This is basically asking for the breaking and end of European buying and selling rules as a team system. The meanings of this request cannot be said too much because it hits at the very center of what makes the European Union strong. If Germany can make its own buying and selling deal with Washington, why would Berlin stay tied by Brussels rules that hurt German businesses? If France can get special skips for its farm part, why would Paris keep following common European farm rules? If Italy can make a separate setup that keeps Italian factories safe, why would Rome give up Italian workers for the sake of European togetherness? So, the whole setup of the European Union depends on member countries accepting common buying and selling rules, even when those rules hurt single country needs. Trump is clearly asking for the end of that setup, and he knows exactly what he is doing. He is giving European countries a choice between being true to Brussels and staying alive with money. And he is betting that when faced with that choice, countries will choose staying alive every single time. The fourth request is about army spending, and it is number-wise impossible for most European countries to do. Trump is asking that every European country right away raise its army spending to 5% of GDP. For background, NATO has long said that member countries spend at least 2% of GDP on defense, and most European countries have failed to meet even that small goal. The United States now spends about 3.5% of its GDP on defense. Trump is asking that European countries spend much more than America itself spends, and nearly 3 times the current NATO idea. For countries like Germany, this would need adding over $100 billion each year to army budgets. For France, it would mean an extra $80 billion per year. For Italy and Spain, countries already deep in government debt and fighting with high no-job rates, this request would need a complete change of government money away from healthcare, education, old age pay, and help services toward army tools, workers, and buildings. Schools would lose money, hospitals would face budget cuts, old age payments would be lowered. But army spending would grow hugely because Donald Trump has asked for it and attached results to not following that no European leader can afford to ignore. The fifth request is maybe the most surprising and means a complete use of European rule power to help American business needs. Trump has asked that the European Union right away stop all ongoing checks into American tech companies, including cases about not sharing, privacy breaks, and one-company control checks that have been years in making. But the request does not stop there. Trump is also asking that European rule groups instead turn their check work toward European tech companies and Chinese rivals working in European markets. This would basically turn European rule makers into force arms of American company plans. Chenxi and Tuainpi, leaving their job to keep European buyers, and European fight needs safe. Von der Leyen's answer to these 5 full requests was to ask for time to talk with member countries and make a team European answer. She asked for a talk time during which European leaders could think about these needs and suggest other offers that might make American worries happy while keeping European own rule. Trump's answer was to set a time limit that is already counting down, 30 days. That is what Europe has been given. 30 days from that moment in the Oval Office to agree to these requests in full or face results that Trump listed in mean detail. If Europe does not meet these requests within 30 days, Trump said that he would right away use Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act, letting him put national safety taxes without government group okay. These would not be small taxes made to fix buying and selling not equal. These would be end taxes planned to fully cut economic ties between America and Europe. Trump plans to put 60% taxes on European cars, 50% on fancy goods, 45% on farm products, and 40% on all other made goods. These tax rates would make European sales to America not possible with money, and would start quick money slowdown across the European land. The clock is ticking, and Europe has no good choices. The next 30 days will decide if the Western team stays alive or falls apart fully. Subscribe now and turn on notifications, because when this time limit hits, we are bringing you an emergency update with information the mainstream media will never show. Comment below with your guess. Will Europe pay Trump's bill, or will they watch their economy burn? Share this video with everyone who needs to understand what is coming. The world is changing right now, and you need to be prepared for what happens.